Good day, everyone. Tim from Timber Visions here. So it's time to get the stump grinder, the Woodland Mill stump grinder, set up on the bigger tractor. And there's a few things that I have to take into consideration when transferring this from a subcompact tractor to a larger compact tractor. And one of them is my PTO shaft length. So in order to use this stump grinder on the subcompact tractor, I had to cut a little bit off of the PTO shaft because the length between where it attached to the grinder and where it attaches my PTO was too short for the shaft, even with a quick hitch involved. So one thing that I could do is just run the stump grinder without the quick hitch, and that would, give me like 4 inches difference, maybe 4.5. But I have a different plan because I really like using a quick hitch for my rear mounted implements, just for ease of switching between them. It's so nice just to be able to set it down, flip these up, set it down, and drive away. There went my tape measure. Anyway, so we're going to need the tape measure for this because we have to look at the total length of the PTO shaft and how much is overlapping. So I think minimum we want like 6 inches overlapping where those two shafts, go over top of each other. So that's one thing. And then also this grinder uses a slip clutch rather than shear pins, and that is set for the subcompact tractor, which is, I think it was 18.5 horsepower at the PTO, where this tractor has 39, if I remember right. So considerably more horsepower, so we're going to have to retorque the slip clutch. But before we retorque it, we're going to have to loosen all the bolts and intentionally spin the clutch. You want to do that every so often, at least seasonally, because it will like rust together, and then it will be stronger than it's supposed to be. So you intentionally slip the clutch, and you don't want to put any oil or anything like that on it to keep it from rusting, because then it lubricates it and it won't work correctly. We just slip the clutch every year before you start grinding. Maybe if you haven't done any stump grinding for a month or so, it's not a bad idea to just do it again, and then reset your clearances for the horsepower of your tractor. We'll go over that in a little bit here, but first let's take a closer look at this PTO shaft. Okay, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to disconnect this PTO shaft, and we're going to measure how far how long this shaft is, right? So what I did before is I basically just went until the collar was separating like this. I don't want it to go this far, okay? For sure, right? So we'll just set it there like that. And you're supposed to measure from the knuckle or whatever, and that's fine, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to measure from here to here, and that's 26.25, okay? So if I put this back on here, and that's one thing I miss about the subcompact, is that you could turn the PTO shaft by hand. But with this one, there is no mid PTO, so there's no spot to switch it away from the rear PTO. Anyway, so I have this grinder lifted up in the air, and it can free spool. All right, so let's measure here. So remember, we're 26.25, so we're 20.5 there, okay? But that's lifted all the way up. So let's let it down some. You can see that that shaft is coming out. Okay. So if we measure it here, I think this is about as far away as it's going to get. That's 22.5. So that's only 4 inches difference, right? Which is not going to be enough. That's not 6 inches. So I'm going to have to pull that PTO shaft off again. My drawbar is way too far out. So I gotta move my drawbar in. Maybe. Oh, I bet I gotta loosen that guy. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but there's a little bolt that I think is holding my drawbar from sliding. Yeah, here we go. PTO shaft's in the way. Alright. I think what we do is we just flip it around, maybe. Oh, I ain't gonna do it either. Guess we'll just have to remove it for now. I'm concerned about when I lower the grinder down, I will actually strike that. And I don't want to end up striking, rubbing the shaft on the drawbars that's sticking out. Hope that makes sense. But we will put this pin back in. Don't need the drawbar right now anyway, so. All right. So like we were talking before, there's only 4 inches of overhang here, right? So we have to extend this out or get a new PTO shaft, which is kind of expensive, like $150 or something. So stay tuned, I'll show you my remedy. Okay, so here's my remedy. It's called a PTO adapter, quick release, or extender. So basically this end is just like what's coming off the tractor. And this end is just what you would use to, like your PTO shaft, right? And what this basically ends up doing is adding, I think it's 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches. It's kind of hard to know exactly where those balls are inside, but they're about right there. And then you go to here, and it's about 4.5 inches of length to my PTO shaft. So all I gotta do is, it's got a little pull back collar. Get that all the way on there. There we go. Oh, you bugger. There, now it's locked on. And it's just got a little slide back collar rather than a little pin. And then now bring this guy up and get the splines lined up like that. Pull my little pin, or pushing my little pin button, slide it onto there and lock it in. So now if we measure from here to here, it's 18 inches. So if it was 26 before, that's 9 inches overlap, which is good. Now if we bring it down some, it came out further. And now we have 20 1/4. It was 26 1/4 before. So that means we got 6 inches of overlap when it's all the way down like that. So that pretty much solves our issue. Okay, under the hood there, here's our new extender. You just pull back on this little guy here to release it. And then your normal PTO hookup there. I got some smudgies on there. Alright. Here's your normal PTO hookup. And then here we are all the way down to the ground. So I don't think it's, and I have the pin pulled too, so it isn't going to get much lower than what it is now. If it does, it's not going to be very much. Maybe an inch. And 5 inches overlap is way better than 4 or less. So I never did measure it without that extender down here. So I do have it in the quick hitch. So I have some bushings here. And then a bushing right there in order for it to connect to the quick attach. I know you can, or a quick hitch. I know you can get like a Spico quick hitch that you don't need those bushings. And if I would have known about it when I bought my first tractor, I probably would have bought one of those. Because I spent a lot of money in bushings through the years since I've gotten tractors. And like I said, I've never owned a Spico, but just that alone to me makes it well worth it, I would think. So next we have to go and spin this clutch, right? We have to make it spin. We got our PTO all taken care of, PTO shaft all taken care of, good to go there. But we need to spin this slip clutch. Need to slip it on purpose, and then set it to the proper height on, and I'll show you later. It's a lot easier to see these. I don't know if you can see those little springs, but those springs have to be a certain height depending on the PTO horsepower, and I'll go over that here in just a moment. Okay, here are the bolts I'm going to loosen. I'm going to loosen them all up till this nut is flush with the end of the bolt. So I'm going to do that right now off camera. Okay, hopefully you can see this, but on the slip clutch right here, I've made a mark on both of these flanges and on the middle plate in between. I know I can see it. I don't know if you guys be able to see it on the camera or not, but now I'm going to hook the PTO shaft back up and just run this PTO for 2-3 seconds 2 or 3 times. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it in between or not, but we'll start her up here. And I'm going to leave it at an idle. I'm just going to hit the PTO 2-3 times. Oh yeah, I could see it. You see there how the PTO shaft is doing nothing and the wheel continues to spin? That's called slipping the clutch. You just got to do that every so often. to make sure you're not rust bonded together. Okay, so I think the lighting's best from this way, and this is where I sat to do it anyway. But I just sat down here on the side of the tractor, passenger side if you're looking forward, and then just put a 5/8 on the back and 17mm in the nut. At least that's what fit for me. And then tighten them down. You can kind of see rust mark on the bolt to where it used to be and where it is now. But then I would just run it till right there is 1.22 between this point and right here where the bolt is. The 1.22. And what I did was I just set my caliper to that and then locked it so I didn't have to set it every time. And then with the PTO shaft unhooked from the tractor, then I could just spin around and go around and just tighten them all up. I don't think you have to go in a certain order because you're just tensioning it the same amount all the way around. It's not like a wheel or whatever. But next thing I have to do, and I won't do this on camera, but you got a grease point here, and then you have grease zerks on the knuckle of that PTO shaft. You see it right there, maybe? Yeah. And then there's one on that side too. And then there's a bearing up in here that needs some grease. I'll grease it all up. Then I think we'll be ready to rock and roll. Some of these teeth are not in the best shape, but this stump that I'm gonna grind, like this one is chipped, you can see. But the stump I'm gonna grind is not a very big stump. That'll help kind of polish all this crap off anyway. A lot of rust from, well, I think it was April last time I ground a stump, and that was with the subcompact. So yeah, we will be replacing some of these chipped teeth though. I have a source for some that's not Woodland Mills, a little bit cheaper, and I'm gonna try them and share with you guys how I think that they do. I think the Woodland Mills do okay, but if you hit rocks, I had a big stump grinding job last year, and one of the trees had a bunch of that limestone rock around it, but it was buried from years and years ago. That kind of buggered these up. It kind of chipped them up pretty good. But otherwise, as far as sharpness, I think they're all right. I just have some chipped ones. But we'll replace those chipped ones with these other ones. See, there's chip here, chip there. It's mostly on this bottom right there's a chip, so that's 3. A little bit. No, that's not chip, though. 3. Yeah, so I think there's just 3 of them that were chipped. But otherwise, do some greasing. Then I'll be ready to grind. But I'm not going to grind in this video. This one's been long enough, kind of going over how to set this up. I did a similar video when I first got the grinder, when I set it up for the subcompact, but I kind of wanted to go over it again. My stump grinding videos perform the best by far. It seems like, most of my tractors videos do good, but my stump grinding videos are my top performers. People don't want to see me make firewood. I've discovered. Anyway, so that's why I'm doing this video and sharing it with you guys. But my next video will be grinding this stump, and it's a paid job, and it was remove a dead tree and grind a stump. So it's kind of a package deal, but we'll go over that when the time comes. So I want to thank everybody for stopping in and watching my video. Appreciate all the subscribers, appreciate all the viewers. I appreciate anyone who stops in and comment. leave a comment. You got a question? You know, tell me I look like I'm sweating a lot because it is hot out today. Yeah, go ahead. Drop it in the comments down below. That's what that section's for. I read every single comment that's left in my videos. I do. And reply to pretty much every one of them too. So feel free, comment down below. Give a like. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Of those people who watch my stump grinding videos, like 90% of you people that watch my videos are not subscribers. But thanks again, everybody. And until next time, be safe, brothers and sisters.